I became one of the original members of what they call citywide anti-crime. He says, Bo, would you ever think of becoming a decoy? I said, well, what does a decoy do? Well, you pose as someone that's intoxicated and you get robbed in neighborhoods that are really bad in crime. I said, sure, let's do it. I was mugged over 500 times.
What? I'm Shawnee Delaney. I spent years undercover as a Defense Intelligence Agency case officer.
And I'm Tyler Gray. I served as a U.S. Army Ranger sniper, as well as an assaulter in an elite Tier 1 counterterrorism unit. This is Control Room.
Welcome to Control Room. Today, I am honored to be sitting here with legendary NYPD detective Bo Dietl.
Yeah, and I'm super excited because usually we always have cybersecurity experts here that can talk technical, and I'm just excited to have someone more from the protector job, more on the streets, on the ground, than someone who can we can talk that world instead of me always trying to jump into cybersecurity technical world. So thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, but I got a little cyber stuff in my pocket too.
What I really want to start with is, I said you were a legend. You truly are a legend. I mean, not everybody gets a film with a Baldwin designed after them. Can you tell us about your history? Tell us how you got into law enforcement and all these cool stories.
We're going to have to do the abbreviated thing. I grew up in Ozone Park. I grew up with a mom that was born in Sicily. My father was born in Germany. Very tough household. And that father is the one that took me through. Another thing was the enormous thing in high school. We had the Marine Corps physical fitness team. We had a team 4 hours a day on Thanksgiving, Christmas, we'd work out 4 hours. We were national physical fitness. Yes, this is the reason that we're coming about where I went in my life. That physical strength took me through my whole life. Being an iron worker, a concrete laborer, an iron worker on the World Trade Center, and then going into the police academy.
So how many years were you in the NYPD for?
I was only in uniform a short period of time. In the early 70s, we had the Black Liberation Army that was killing cops. I think one year we had 11 cops killed, the other 13. So we started to follow the radio cars in plain clothes. It was the advent of anti-crime. So they'd say, you have a shotgun, bring it with you. So we were following police cars to stop any kind of an ambush that we had. And then I became one of the original members of what they call citywide anti-crime. I met this gentleman in John Jay College. He says, Bo, would you ever think of becoming a decoy? I said, well, what does a decoy do? Well, you pose as someone that's intoxicated or whacked out, and you get robbed in neighborhoods that are really bad in crime. I said, sure, let's do it. So I went into Randall's Island. Let's fast forward. I was mugged over 500 times.
What?
I was hospitalized over 30 times, stabbed, shot at, everything else. But then my career continued, and then I became a homicide detective. We used to have 100 murders a year, one precinct.
And how many years were you a detective?
I was a detective no more than 5 years.
Okay.
How has crime, from your experience, evolved from, the street hustler to, I would say, today, the more sophisticated, and I mean sophisticated more in their use of technology, not necessarily in other ways. But
It's a wide open thing as far as crime goes. My mother-in-law was one of the victims, where she gets a call from somewhere about my Anthony. Anthony lives down in Florida. Anthony got arrested, and Anthony, they do their due diligence on who the family members are, and if you don't send $1,000 to get bail, he'll be kept in. And you have an old person, 89, 90 years old. They're not recognizing that this is a complete fraud, and people are fraudulently being taken over.
I think another critical point on that is you said the name Anthony. Like, how would they know his name? Because an older person in their 80s doesn't realize how much information is out there on social media. So they're going, yeah, but they knew Anthony's name. And you're going, yeah, that's, that would be easy to get. That's one Instagram search.
There's so much information online for people to develop a whole history about you, about
profile.
your children, your profile and all that. And the criminal element take it. The same thing was like we're talking about with cybersecurity. What they do is, if you don't protect yourself, they can get that information. Then what they do is they sell it to the dark web.
For people who are watching this right now or listening to this right now, what can you teach them to spot a scam or a con or something like that?
What I tell people, clear your mind. Your brain is an empty vessel. Clear it and work on those little intuition. Everything that you feel is intuition. It's a sixth sense.
But you have to listen to it, like you're
Yeah,
saying.
listen
if you
to it
hear
and
it, you have to listen to it.
I would say probably 9 out of 10 times, and whatever it is, your gut, 9 out of 10 times is right. And a great example of that is people, no one really defines what is the gut. Where's it coming from?
Yeah.
Where is that intuition coming from? And I think it's important to explain that intuition is coming from how much of our communication is nonverbal versus verbal. So it's like all of that nonverbal information is going into my subconscious, and my subconscious is processing it.
Bingo,
You know what I mean? Not consciously. And then that subconscious is constantly taking information in from everywhere, and it's when you get a gut feeling, it's coming from the information that your subconscious is
Now,
processing.
you're a combat veteran,
Yeah.
am I correct? Okay, and were you in Iraq? Where were you?
Afghanistan and
Afghanistan, right?
and Iraq.
Well, thank you for your
No,
service.
my
but
pleasure, same.
That same sixth sense probably has saved your life when all of a sudden you feel something ain't right of going into that house or that,
Yeah.
or you're talking to somebody, one of your interpreters or one of your informants, and you feel talking to that person, and you know, talking conversations, you could read a person's mind. I could read a person's mind, whether he's the chairman of the major corporation that's stealing or he's a murderer that killed 10 people. I talk to him and you could talk to him.
Yeah.
And that's when that sixth sense say something ain't right, they're lying. And that is the secret. And you've got it. Experience just develops it more and more.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And then the last thing I'll say on that is, and you just said it, why, my opinion on why most people don't listen to their gut is because you have to learn to trust it. And when you're in a life-death scenario that we've all been in, you learn to trust it then, I think, maybe more than you do when the stakes aren't as high. You know, you mentioned, I was in the military. When I got out of the military, I went to private security, and I did that for almost a decade, bodyguarding actually most of that time. And then you transitioned to that as well. Sounds like towards the end of your career with the NYPD, and then you're still doing private security today. Is that correct?
Yeah, we do major events, major things like that. But we also do the security assessments. We do major investigations, criminal, corporate, every aspect of it.
So do you focus on mostly corporations or high net worth individuals or celebrities or kind of all of the above?
All the above.
Okay.
I get calls from some of the top celebrities and for investigations, or there's some sort of threat against them. And the whole thing is the difference now. Being a cop and not being a cop, we work very well. I have a great rapport with district attorneys, the police departments, and FBI. And I was just appointed by the president on the Homeland Security Advisory Council, which is great.
Congratulations.
We work with the TSA. I work with the director of the TSA. There's 23 different agencies there.
So I have a question kind of about power and flexibility, both. So when you were in law enforcement, you were kind of talking about rules and kind of having parameters around you, left, right, so to speak. Now in the private world, do you feel like you have more flexibility and more power and kind of more freedom to do things the way that you think they need to be done?
Double-edged sword. Because in reality, as a private investigator, we don't have to adhere. If I'm investigating you tell me you got a lawyer. I says, I got a lawyer too. I could keep on questioning you. Whereas a cop or a law enforcement person has to cease the the interrogation. And, that's a big difference there. So we have a little advantage there. And the other ones have the warrants. Say if you need a cybersecurity warrant, I can't get one, but law enforcement can get. So you work together with everything, and it's exciting to be involved still with investigations. And I'm in any given day. I'm in 100 investigations going on.
So, Bo, you have a ton of experience. If you were in front of a classroom of kids and you were teaching them about digital hygiene or just kind of the cyber world that we live in now, what advice would you give them? What
I would say to them very simply is if you're going to be online and you're going to be communicating and they have all these silly games. My grandson's 9 years old and he's on this roadblocks and all these games. There are predators that are on them also. And you got to remember, what you see is really not what the truth is. And we pick up the paper every day when all of a sudden you think that you're talking to somebody your age and it's some old guy that's now trying to capture you in. And then when he makes you do or say something, he threatens you and he blackmails you. It's a very, very big thing. And my biggest problem is my grandchildren, they're on the internet all the time. And the reality is it is not safe if you're on that internet and you're not controlling your child. And a lot of what's going on right now with the hatred is on that internet, and they're being trained by being that internet of what they want them to be trained
But
to.
I feel like kids, especially that age, your grandson's age, my kids are in the same age range. I tell them until I'm blue in the face about all the threats. I show them news articles so it's real. I tailor it to their age so they think that it could happen to them, and they still don't think it can happen to them. How do you get the message across that it genuinely could happen to them?
Well, you know how you get the message across? You get news articles. So when you're online, I'm sorry, tough love is important. You can't code it and candy coat it, because this is life and death with a lot of the kids that are mentally getting taken over. My biggest thing is these cyber bullies too. Your own peers, which they'll pick on you. Oh, you're fat, you're this, you're that. And you know what? People don't realize, when a kid's an adolescent, they're growing up, this is what happens.
To bring it back to one of your original points about instinct and listening to your gut. When we're talking to, from seniors to kids, it doesn't matter, really honing in on that and teaching people that if something feels off, that they need to listen to that voice in the back of their head.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing I'm hearing, and again, I'm the only one here without children, but
I got something for you.
Thank you. No,
I've offered. He won't take mine.
We're literally, looking at that now, and so I'm thinking about it more. And what I'm hearing is that really, I think what parents have to realize is that if your children are online, you have to be completely aware of everything they're doing, because if you're not, something bad, there's a massive amount of danger out there, and you cannot assume for a second, even if it's the most innocuous seeming game, that they have some risk of being online in any capacity.
If we take one thing of our whole conversation today, bingo, you're hitting it right on the head. And a lot of the parents, they give them, what are those things called? Those iPad. When they're in the restaurant, they shut the kid down.
It's the babysitter.
iPhone, whatever the heck. So they don't cry.
Yeah.
You saw online how addictive it becomes. And I did see these things online where a child, 5, 6 years old, their iPad was taken away, and they go completely berserk.
Full meltdown.
Total. Is that telling you something, parents? It's telling you that they are being robotized with this internet thing. Please, save your children. Spend some time. And like I said, show them the bad parts, not just all the good parts of the internet.
There are studies that have come out recently about kids and AI, kids and digital stuff. And I think one thing that people don't realize, number one, is that most kids are exposed thousands of times a day to AI, from chatbots to algorithms to their social media feeds, et cetera. But I think, and don't quote me on this, I want to say it's 70% of teenagers spend more than 7 hours a day online, on a device, on an app.
Are you serious?
Yes,
I think you're 1,000,000% right.
They're spending less than 75 minutes a day talking to their parents. So that the imbalance is really
you just hit
severe.
a nail on the head there with AI. AI now, and we had something that happened to where AI was communicating with somebody back and forth, and AI told him to kill himself.
I read that story.
I mean, I don't know all the facts around it, but I use AI to make me sound like I'm a little more intelligent than I am when I write a letter.
I think everybody does.
Yeah.
I didn't want to admit it, but I do. AI, I'm worried about the advancements in AI where it takes control of what you're trying to say to it, and it tells you what to do. And that's my biggest fear.
I was going to say, have you had any investigations in recent years involving deepfakes or AI or voice cloning with your clients?
Not AI yet, but I'm sure.
It's coming, yeah.
I'm sure AI is coming. And if that happens, then I have a lot of partners in the AI space that I'll bring in. But I'll tell you, that's coming. Yeah. That's coming.
Do you have any examples of clients being defrauded out of money, falling for scams or cons?
You know, I get the calls every day about someone got an email and someone saying to them, we have these pictures, unless you give me X amount of dollars with crypto or whatever, we're going to release it. We have your whole email database. Bingo. And 90% of the people, what do you think they do?
Pay.
That's a big fraud there. And that's going on every single day.
So what do you advise people when that happens?
Just delete it.
Ignore it?
Ignore it, yeah. And a lot of them, unless you got pictures that you put out there, that ain't my fault. If you're on a bad side of the tracks, that's your fault.
Well, I think the other thing too is that it's the fear in that situation. The fear is what is controlling you. They're using fear to control you. And if you just remove the fear and go do your worst, man. Post it. I don't care.
I like that.
You know, it's like,
go for it.
Yeah, go for it. Post whatever you want. It's like, I get those all the time where they're like, we're watching your computer. I'm like, great, dude.
And I tell everybody, if it's really the Social Security Administration, they're not going to be sending you an email, duh. And maybe it took me a couple of times.
They'll send you a letter. That's how old that system is.
But that's what happens.
Yeah.
And they know enough to make you think that, wow, that's really serious.
So if you were going to teach me how to spot the tells of a scammer or a con artist, what are the tells?
If all of a sudden you're in communication with someone and then they're looking for something and they're looking for something from you, when it goes over that, they don't do it right away. They set it in little by little, or they'll do it a little bit light and then ready to send it in. So in other words, they won't go for the gusto. They just a little bit, or they have a problem and then you help them. And the next thing is you're involved with them. There's so many different scenarios how you get set up, but let your nose go by what we just mentioned. If you feel as though something's right, and don't be so oblivious to the fact that, these people want to take you out.
I think one big one that I've seen is the urgency. Okay, when they're basically, hey, you got to do this blank. That's one. I've been the I guess the bait. I don't know what the word is for a bunch of pig butchering scams. It's really sad. I get emailed or I get messaged too often, sadly, and it's very little I can do about it. But the thing that I've noticed is somebody reaching out to someone unannounced.
Yeah.
They message you.
Yeah.
Then they get into a conversation. They build rapport, and then after some initial rapport, then they ask for something that must be done in an urgent timeline.
Absolutely, you could work for me anytime. You're right on the money. But one of the big ones came to play is investments. People who invest, corporations. Going back, this one guy was investing to car washes in California, and we were doing due diligence on the guy that wanted to buy, and it was a great deal. And they didn't spend a couple of dollars to do a due diligence on him. And then there was so many cases like that. If they only spend a few dollars to look at the principal that you're going into business with, and then you'll learn about that he defrauded someone. He has these lawsuits are important. When you see a person that's litigious, oh, he's suing this one, that one, that's the big red lights, red light, stay the hell away from it.
I think there's a very interesting point that you just made that I think is really important to say, and I haven't really thought of it until now, and that is we constantly talk about there's so much information out there and how bad it is and dangerous it is in so many ways, and I agree with that. However, because of the proliferation of information, like I know PIs have access to databases that your average person doesn't. So as bad as all this data is now on one hand, on another hand, it would be pretty easy for a person to call get a background check relatively easier utilizing the databases you have and get definitive information on somebody because of the proliferation of information that wasn't possible 30 years ago. Is that correct?
I believe exactly that. Someone could call me up. We do what they call a retainer agreement. A lot of them do it to attorneys and all that for the confidentiality. And then we do the investigation. But a lot of times what we do is we get the information and then we recheck it because we pull court cases and we see what the court case was. We can get information and other people can't get legally.
Yeah.
Everything is legal. I'm not going to put my neck out to obtain illegal information. And a lot of times you substantiate it. Here, I'm a detective. You committed a murder. you were standing over there. All of a sudden, I will interview you, and I'll say that she told me that you witnessed, and I have another witness that tells me you saw that, which is a total fabrication, but you substantiate it through witnesses. And we do that in our investigations where we tell a witness that we have this, where we really don't. But you ask a question where you know what the answer is. That's simplified.
We know all.
I think that's the simple way to put it. You ask questions when you know the information, and then you know if a person's lying to you or not.
I do that to my kids almost every day.
So we made it
Yeah.
very simplistic. But again, the tools that are out there today are much more advanced, and the databases, again, are good, but you have to verify a lot of that information.
People have to prioritize
100%.
the resources that they have, be it budget, be it understanding or time. So I think the hard thing is, how do people prioritize? Let's say you're talking to an individual.
Yeah.
How do you prioritize keeping yourself safe today?
I have a great thing for that. And this is a military term that we used to use when we were planning. And I'm glad I just thought of this because I haven't brought it up yet. But the two things that we would plan for was most likely, whatever the most likely scenario is, and we would make a plan for that. The other thing was the most dangerous. So we'd make a plan and counter the most likely course of action, and then we would make a plan and counter for the adversary's most dangerous,
Like worst case scenario?
Course of action. So you're preparing for the worst case as well as the most likely case, because most people are just preparing for the most likely, and then although the most dangerous course is maybe the least likely, but if it happens, it's as bad as it gets. So you have to put some effort into both.
You know, listening to you about the most likely, most dangerous, you don't mind I steal that from you.
Okay, you can take it. I didn't make it up.
I could put
did.
that in my assessment because it's so. Look, if someone's going to get injured, that's one thing. If someone's going to get killed,
Yeah.
that's the most dangerous. I love that scenario on that. But again, the regular people we're talking about now.
Yeah.
How do we protect the regular people? How do we? You know what? I had my mom, God rest her soul, 94. I had her in an apartment. I had these two women 24 hours a day taking care of her. And then there was one of them that was woozing up, bringing her little 12-year-old daughter. And they were talking to the daughter, and my mother started saying, "Oh, she's so nice," and this. And then they were ascertaining. I bought the apartment for my mother. It was under my name, and they were trying to find out exactly who owned
Where the
apartment.
money is.
Yeah, exactly, in my own household.
Yeah.
So I made an abrupt exit for them. I explained to them very quietly and quickly, I own the apartment, okay? My mother doesn't own it. And I tell you right now, you're out of here, you're out of here. We brought new people. But that's a perfect example where it hits me personally with it. Old people become the victims because they believe people.
Yeah,
Trust.
yeah.
It's human trust. We all trust, naturally. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
business, let's talk about business real fast. Again, your business is your most important product. If you don't protect your business, I hate to say, a lot of businesses have people who are in that business that defraud the business, steal money, steal IP, steal everything. And, this is something that you have to protect yourself again.
Yeah. I think it boils down to, it can happen to you. It will happen to you, be it personal, being scammed or defrauded, or business, like you're talking about,
Yeah.
having a malicious actor inside, or something will happen to you. Like,
I think the biggest thing, and I know you're going to agree with this, but the biggest thing, if somebody says, what's the one thing, the most important one thing? And I always say this, mindset. Mindset is the most important thing. You have to have a protector mindset. That's protecting yourself, protecting your family, protecting the people you care about. That is once you have that mindset, you will look at everything in a way that takes that protection into account.
I've looked at things across our country when they would ask people, what's the most important thing to you? You have the economy, you have public safety, you have all these different things, and immigration, whatever. The top one always is public safety. For some reason, we all revert back to being secure for you and your family or your company, and that's the most important thing as far as when they do these pollings. Public safety is very important. You want to feel safe.
Yeah, and on that note, flipping it into this, it's digital safety now.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? And you have to have that awareness to, at this point, you have to create your own digital security or your own digital privacy because it's not there inherently in today's world. And having that protector mindset, I think, is absolutely critical.
And you can't be too secure.
Absolutely.
It's not every day we get to sit at a table with a legend. I think that was really an honor for both of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much for your time and sharing your stories.
Yeah, we could have probably sat here all day. On that note, where can people find you and your company?
Oh, my company's easy one, investigationswithanS.com.
That's
Oh,
super
wow.
easy.
Yeah, that was
And
pretty
if
easy.
you want to get to be personal, it's an easy one too. BO at investigationswithanS.com. And, it was really great speaking with you. And thank you both for your services.
Same, sir.
and it's great to talk to people who really know what they're talking about, who've walked the walk. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Be sure to like and subscribe and leave comments. We would love to hear from you.
New episodes coming every week on LifeLock's YouTube channel.